Hello and welcome to vChat, episode number 46. My name is David Davis from Actual Tech Media and VMwareVideos.com.
And I'm Simon Seagrave from techhead.co. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great, Simon. It's good to chat with you again.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, our last episode, we talked for a long time about, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and you showed off your awesome mining rig. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. So if for those of you out there in the audience, if you didn't see that episode, make sure you check it out. So on this show, what we're going to talk about again, Simon?
So we're going to cover about conferences. I mean, it's something that we all go to, or most of us. Every year we attend at least one. I mean, that's how you and I, David, we normally catch up. It's the only time we actually get to see each other in person. So yeah, this episode's about conferences, past and present, and for 2018.
Awesome.
And future, I guess.
yeah, in the future. I mean, it's one of the times that I get out of my home office and get to talk to real IT professionals, the real folks who are in the trenches, working in the data centers every day, and then get to meet, really cool people who work at enterprise tech companies, such as yourself. And like you said, one of the only times it seems like we get to run into each other. Maybe this year we can record a live vChat is my hope at one of these conferences we'll talk about today. So let's see, last year, 2017, I went to Microsoft Ignite. I was really impressed by what Microsoft presented as their vision sort of in the keynote. I thought it's really high level, like solving the problems of the world kind of thing. And so I was quite impressed by that. It wasn't just like, look, we can build a private cloud. It was like, look, we can use artificial intelligence to cure cancer. And, I was like, wow, this is really cool. So they did some, VR demos, virtual reality, augmented reality, type stuff on stage. And
Microsoft's got some real good stuff around that with the HoloLens project. Well, so it's changed now. Actually, it's called something else. It's not HoloLens anymore. I mean, they've got this, they coined their own sort of mixed reality phase now, phrase rather. But they've got some amazing technology around AR and VR, particularly AR.
Yeah, totally. And Azure seems to be doing very well. They introduced quite a few new services around Azure. Popularity seems to be, really building around Azure. And even like Orlando as a conference destination, I was quite impressed by. One, because I could just drive down there. That was convenient for me. But also because it seemed like it held, I'm not sure exactly how many tens of thousands of people they had at Ignite this year, but it was, I would say, around the size of VMworld, roughly, and if not larger, maybe, I don't know. And Orlando's Convention Center held all of it easily. So personally, for convenience in my case, I wish they had more conferences in Orlando instead of trekking out to Vegas, once again. But that's just a side note.
Yeah, I've been to Orlando once before. It was the VMware Partner conference. It must be going about 5-6 years ago now, maybe even longer. But I was really impressed with it. I mean, that was actually held down at Disney, down there on the campus there, and that was amazing. That was a good experience, and it's kind of nice to attend a conference sometimes that isn't Vegas or San Francisco. I mean, less so San Francisco for us these days, more Vegas. But Vegas is great. It's kind of grows on you, but it's nice to mix it up occasionally.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, I think I was at that Partner Exchange conference in.
I think you were.
Yeah. So let's see. I know you went to quite a few conferences. Do you want to talk about any from 2017?
Yeah, last year, actually. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't attend that many. I mean, the main one I attended, obviously, through work, working for Dell Technologies, was Dell EMC World, which was the big one that we have every year in Las Vegas. So this is held at the Venetian. That's a decent sized conference. I mean, it's not as large as VMworld at all by any means. I mean, it's about 12,000 people. Between 12 and 15. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice sized conference. You can get around everything. Some good sessions. So I'm obviously involved. I create all the keynote demos for day three, the day three keynotes. So that's my role. But obviously I can't get out and enjoy the show until after the day three, which is Wednesday, and the show finishes on Thursday. So quite often there's a lot of changes and tweaks and improvements being made behind the scenes for those keynote demos leading up to that time. But that's always a lot of fun, and again, it's good opportunities to catch up with colleagues and friends. But it's a great venue. I mean, I'm always impressed with Vegas, how it can consume so many people. I mean, once we get to 2018, I was back there at the start of this year. We'll talk about that in a while. But attending CES, but that was a different beast altogether. I mean, that was phenomenal. But yeah, apart from Dell Technologies, I didn't make it to VMworld. I mean, I think that's my first VMworld in the US that I haven't been to for quite some time. But that was because myself and the family were moving across from the UK to the US here. We were relocating. So pretty much on the day, VMworld was kicking off, we were on a flight with my family over here and 2 cats. In the hold, relocating over to the US. So unfortunately, I couldn't attend that, and I didn't attend the VMworld Europe event either. So it was quite a quiet year last year for me. So this year, I think it'll be a little bit busier, attending a few more. But no, I always look forward to it. What about yourself? Any others last night? Any others last year?
Yeah. I mean, I went to Amazon Reinvent for the first time, and I was if I was blown away by Ignite, I was really blown away by Amazon Reinvent. Amazon's AWS conference, it was 40,000 plus people in Las Vegas. It was spread over 3 different hotels, which I have to say was rather inconvenient. But on the plus side, it was just so well organized, I felt like. But I did quickly realize that if there was anything that I scheduled at other hotels, I either had to cancel it or allow at least an hour to get over to that other hotel. So that was a little different to me because I'm used to conferences being all in one venue, really. But I can see why Amazon has that problem. There's so many people, there's so many sessions. And I mean, speaking of the sessions, I've never been to sessions where you reserve a seat and then you have to get in line, 30 minutes early for the reserved seat. And at 10 minutes before the official time, if you aren't in line, forget it. You have to go to the waiting line, which like wraps around the building kind of thing. Wow. So I got into one session after trying to go into 3 different ones. And not quite working out. Either I had a waiting seat when I thought I had a reserved seat, or I had a reserved seat and I was a couple minutes early, which was actually too late. I finally got into one session, which was the day in the life of a Netflix engineer, which was really, it was really fascinating. And it was in like a multi-level theater, like those huge theaters in Vegas. And there was so many. I got there early, but I ended up sitting on the floor on a step next to a seat. There was so many people. So yeah, it was a really cool session, but all the sessions were like that. It was just so packed out. And I guess this is just telling of the popularity, that AWS has right now. Yeah. I also went to the labs. The labs were put on by a company called Quick Labs. So they weren't actually part of Amazon, but Quick Labs uses Amazon. And I quickly realized that I could just go to Quick Labs on the internet and do these from home. They weren't, specific to the conference. So that was interesting.
It's quite a problem to have, though, isn't it? As a company, it's a double-edged sword a little bit. I mean, it's great because it's indicative of the, the popularity. People are prepared to spend their time and money to actually get there to do this. But then having to queue to get in there, and then even then you're not guaranteed a seat. It's very positive, but the sort of end user experience of that or attendee experience, isn't necessarily a good one. In your opinion, is there such a thing where a conference gets too big? I mean, is there such a thing?
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll talk about CES in a minute. That might be a good question for CES as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen conferences how they sometimes break them out into like, well, here's the developer focused conference and here's the infrastructure conference. And then other times they bring them back together, into a single conference. Like Microsoft Ignite has a lot of developers. So does AWS Reinvent. There's a lot more, kind of startup developer, type focus at Reinvent than there is, say, at VMworld, for example. VMworld's much more infrastructure. focused. So I don't know. Like you said, I see good and bad. I mean, I did learn that Amazon loves live DJs. Everywhere you go, there's a live DJ.
Oh, is that right?
Blasting music. Yeah. There's a live DJ at the top of the escalator, a live DJ at the bottom of the escalator, you know.
I know at Dell Technologies, Dell EMC World, we normally have one or two around the place, but definitely not that many.
But really good conference. I did obtain a cloud certification, the AWS Cloud Foundation certification from Amazon, which was, I thought, very well done. And I took some of their free courses and was able to obtain that with just a couple of nights of, kind of preparation, plus my previous knowledge of AWS.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was a great foundational level certification to start off with with AWS. So that was my AWS experience. I really did love the experience, and I plan to go back this year and hopefully future years.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one to attend. That's the thing. I mean, the conferences, it's funny. There's so many different angles, or so many different things you can pull out of a conference. Everything from the networking, with your peers, friends, colleagues, that type of thing, right through to, like you say, sort of sitting exams, using it as an opportunity. Because most vendors normally have a special deal on, if you want to set their certification at the event, it's normally there's a discount, some sort of discount to be had, and it definitely focuses the mind. If you go to the event and you've got that. Now, the only downside with that, obviously, generally when you're at a conference, the last thing you want to do is cram. You just want to be out there experiencing it. Then you've got the whole solution center floor where you can see what the third parties and various vendors are doing. And then you've got the actual sessions themselves, and you've got the social aspect on top of it. There's just so many different aspects to it, sort of crammed into what's typically 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I even did the Amazon 5K run, which was actually very well put on. They had a professional instructor come and lead us in exercises, warm-ups before the actual race. And we ran down Frank Sinatra Boulevard, I think it was, with all sorts of police presence, to protect us from traffic. But it was very well attended, and there were snacks after the race, and it was like a real race, and all the money went to charity. So, like you said, a lot of different aspects to going to these conferences. Yeah,
because there's one every year. I've never attended. I'm not really a runner myself. In fact, I'm not too much of an exerciser, but I'm trying to change that at the moment. But there's one at VMworld, isn't there, that normally goes over the, when it was back in San Francisco, there was one that went over the bridge, wasn't there, or something? There was a run.
Yeah, that was actually, I took part in the initial run. Helped to, I think, sort of spawn the idea of the initial run over the Golden Gate Bridge. And yeah, it was super fun. And I haven't gone the last few years, but maybe when we go back to San Francisco with VMworld, which I hope they do at some point, we'll be able to do that run again. I haven't done it in Vegas. Amazon did have every morning, they had different workouts. So one morning it was the run, other mornings they had spinning, another morning they had like a boot camp, another morning they had yoga. So it was like all these different physical activities to keep you in shape, I guess.
See, that's the difference. It's interesting talking about conferences. It's definitely something it was something of a rude awakening, actually, when I started working for EMC at the time. So I flipped from being an attendee almost overnight to working on the other side of the fence, as it were, as a vendor at these events. And when you're working there as a vendor, it's funny. It's a totally different experience than when you're an attendee. I mean, CES, that I'll mention in a while, but that was the first conference I've been to in probably about 5 or 6 years where I wasn't working there. And I always find exercise when I'm at these events, if you're working them, that's the last thing on your mind. You just want to sleep, rest, let your feet recover. But that said, there's pros and cons on either side. It is kind of fun, being involved to a build up to an event, then actually working the event, and it's just living off adrenaline for a few days, and the vibe. It's a lot of fun, but like I say, I want to start the exercise thing a little bit more. So I think I may be joining in a couple of these runs going forward.
Yeah, awesome. I hope so. So speaking of CES, this is the Consumer Electronics Show. It took place in January 2018, right?
Yeah, that's right. It seems like a distant memory now. Yeah, right at the start of the year. It was 6th of January it started.
So roughly what's the unofficial rough number of attendees at CES?
Yeah, the rough number, it was hard to sort of pin down an exact number, but the number that everyone seemed to sort of agree on was it was around approximately 180,000 people.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
The largest conference I'd attended prior to that was actually Oracle Open World, which was around about 45,000, held at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. And that's where they actually close off the center road between the two, the Moscone buildings there. And I thought that was a lot, but I tell you what, it was, what conferences are like, it was just information overload. It's like drinking from the fire hose, trying to get to the sessions and, trying to soak up as much information as possible whilst you're there to make the most out of it. CES was like trying to drink from like 100 fire hoses at the same time. It was just, I was there with one specific purpose. It was really information gathering around sort of virtual reality, augmented reality, demonstration capabilities, because that's an area I get involved with my job. But whilst I'm there, I did take the time to sort of look around the event and see what else was there. Attended a number of sessions, which is interesting actually. They exactly have the same problem that you mentioned that AWS had. The Amazon show there had, whereby if you weren't queuing probably about 20 minutes before the actual allocated time for the session, you would never make it in there. And that was even if you had a sort of like a prime pass, as it were.
Yeah.
They had different grades of passes, and if you had a this pass plus type access, which I had because there were sessions I wanted to attend where I needed that. Even those, you were queuing for ages to get into these sessions. Now, another interesting thing that struck me at CES, just the nature of the actual sessions there. They were all panels. They were industry sort of thought leaders and experts, and you'd have a person there sort of leading the conversation. But basically, it was more of they're all Q&A sessions as to where's the industry going in this space, what challenges are you seeing, et cetera, as opposed to focusing on a specific product, for example. They're much higher level sort of conversational type sessions, which was interesting. But having all of the sessions like that, I didn't feel I got the maximum value out of them. So a lot of them sort of came down to personal opinion, or because you had a panel up there, obviously various people had different angles and different angles to pedal, as it were. So it was interesting. But after about the third or fourth session, there was a lot of overlap with it. So I felt the sessions there I didn't get a heck of a lot of value out of. But definitely going around the show floor, consumer electronics covers such a wide, diverse area. Everything from your large television sets, which people tend to think about when they think CES, but right down to things like the cables. There are whole sections there just dedicated to companies, predominantly from the east, that produce USB cables, different types of USB cables, or printer cables. Some that some would light up, some wouldn't. Just really obscure, diverse stuff like that. There were areas there that distinct areas that covered medical sort of areas of medical medicine and fitness, for example. So, everything from like Fitbit and Garmin, all those guys were there as you'd expect. But it's really fascinating to see, what new products they had coming out. You got to see a lot of new technologies, or new products based on sort of leading edge type technologies that were going to come out. There were awards, so everyone that all the companies or businesses that won awards, they had a central area there where they were actually showcasing these products that won, or best to show, or highly commended at CES. So that was very interesting to go around and see. It kind of gave you a little steer as to sort of where we were going, because obviously as consumers, people listening to this, we generally like our gadgets, right? We like our technology. So it was interesting to see what the next step was going to be in the coming year or so. All the big names were there, and one area, there were key areas predominantly. The CES, a large part of it you could almost put down to being a car show. Toyota, Hyundai, Ford were all there showing off the latest technologies in autonomous driving. Also heads-up displays on the windscreens as well. That was very popular. But particularly the self-driving cars, or self-driving automotive systems. Even though there were a lot of companies there I'd never heard of before. They're sort of, small startups that were developing these systems that, well, obviously with the intention of selling them to the larger automotive manufacturers going forward. But that was one of the key themes. You see that type of technology, that sort of focus at a show like this, within the next couple of years, you're going to start seeing this stuff coming through. We already are, right? It's going to hit the mainstream, other than automotive vendors such as Tesla and a few of the others out there. But battery-powered cars, that was the other thing. But particularly, like I say, autonomous vehicles. That was the big thing at the show. Another key area of interest there that was obvious was around home automation. So IoT and home automation, that was massive. Everything from Z-Wave or Z-Wave devices out there for around the home, whether that's plugs, light bulbs, water leak detection systems. There were so many different manufacturers there. They're all the main ones there, like GE, LG. They all had offerings in this space. Smart kitchens, IoT. That was the other massive thing. So if I was to actually summarize, the two key areas for the show, it was definitely autonomous vehicles. Automotive, that was one massive area. The other was IoT. That was the secondary large theme for the show. Virtual reality, as you could imagine, that played a large part because there was a gaming element there as well. At the show, there was a whole building dedicated to that, so that was a lot of fun. Augmented reality, particularly. There was quite a focus there. And the other area where there was a very strong presence was actually in drones, believe it or not. So we're not talking, there was everything from the small consumer drones, the ones that cost $20-$30 that you give to each other at Christmas type of thing, right through to the larger consumer models that maybe cost around $1,000, for example, right up to these military-grade drones they had there that had surveillance systems on there, drop missiles, everything like this. So there was a massive, wide range of drone offerings there. That was very interesting. It was quite the show to attend. Like I say, the biggest thing, the problem I found with it was getting around it. People said you'd never get around it in a week. I think I did. My feet told me I did. My Fitbit with my step counter on it told me I definitely did. But it was too large. I mean, there were sessions that I really wanted to get to, but they were in different buildings. I mean, this was spread across the Las Vegas Convention Center, the Aria, and also the Venetian as well.
Wow.
Or the Sands Conference Center, and trying to get across there, particularly on the first day where there was bad weather. And people in Las Vegas, I found out, aren't used to rain or driving in the rain, because the whole place there were accidents everywhere, people crashing into each other. There was surface flooding. So trying to get between venues, between buildings was near on impossible. So that was for the first day. It all dried up on the second day, but even still trying to get between buildings for sessions was you just couldn't do it. So I lost a lot of value there with it. And I felt it was a little bit too large. Would I go back? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think after experiencing this, I much prefer the smaller conference. I like something around about the 10 to 20,000 people. There's enough people there to create a buzz, to create a vibe, but it's not too large where it becomes a little bit impersonal. You can wander around, you can sort of network, you can catch up with friends, acquaintances, that type of thing. Where it still feels a little bit sort of homegrown, where it still feels a little bit earthy. I like that. Before it gets too large, too over the top, commercialized, and just loses its character. So for me, I think I'm definitely a smaller conference type person.
Yeah, I think it's fun to go to those big conferences. I mean, I would love now to go to CES, especially after you described it. But like you said, it might be a one-time thing. I don't know. I don't know if I would want to go back to that madness, chaos kind of every year. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, are the sessions posted on YouTube quickly, or are they posted online?
Yeah, really good question. I don't know. It was on my to-do list. I had to check. I was kind of hoping there would be, because like I say, there were a number of conflicts, or there was like an hour between sessions, So I was hoping to catch some of those online after the fact, but I'll be honest with you, since I've been back, I haven't had time to check. But
yeah, well, at Amazon, I wanted to give kudos to them because I very quickly realized after having trouble getting into the sessions, the very next day they were posted in high def video on YouTube. And the week after the conference, there's a playlist on YouTube of every single session that they had. So I was like, wow, this is not like, normally a lot of other conferences I go to, if you paid for a conference pass, you can get access to download this session or watch the sessions, a few months later kind of thing. So I was really impressed with the speed that they got those sessions out for everyone, on YouTube.
Yeah, that's impressive. It's easier for yourself because you effectively work for yourself. But if you work for a larger company or even a small business, trying to justify going to these events where your direct manager knows this is going to happen, it gets quite hard to justify you actually going, because they'll say, look, hey, just wait a week. They'll be there online and in your own time, catch up with the catch up with the sessions there. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff there. The whole networking aspect. There's a lot that you sort of assimilate as you walk around a conference as well. But it's interesting. It is good to have it, have them up there after the fact. At least it takes the pressure off a little bit if you know those sessions are going to be there. And going back to CES, those sessions there, they did have cameras at the back of the room.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they probably are posted somewhere. I've just got to find the time to actually find out where they are.
Yeah, that's another challenge, finding the time, because I have yet to watch those sessions posted on YouTube, except for maybe one of the keynotes that I didn't attend because I had a virtual event I had to do from my hotel room at the same time. But so I think that's a good thing that more conferences are doing. So, I mean, what about 2018? What are your plans for 2018? Are you planning to attend any conferences so far this year?
Well, I had CES obviously so far. Next conference coming up will be Dell Technologies World. So it is no longer Dell EMC World. So Dell Technologies obviously encompasses a wider range of products. Of companies under the Dell Technologies umbrella. So that's very exciting. It's probably going to be the largest conference we have so far. So I'll be attending that. I'll be doing the keynote demos again. At least some of them. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I've got that one at the end of April.
Noted. April 30th through May 3rd in Las Vegas, Dell Technologies World.
Yeah, they brought it forward a week this year. That means we've got one less week to prepare everything. So from here on in, it's going to be 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, really, to get everything ready in time. But it's a lot of fun. It really is. So we've got that end of April. VMworld, I'm really hoping I can attend that. I mean, that's a fantastic conference as well. I love going to VMworld. Some great content, some great sessions. It's always great, good to see, what's coming up in the keynotes. Just to get a taste of what may be coming down the pike in the next sort of 6-12 months with VMware. And then I think that's probably it, actually. Conferences I would love to attend in my own time, where I'd take leave to. I'd love to go to E3, the large gaming conference. I'd love to attend that, just out of personal interest. I mean, I think that would be fantastic. The tickets for that sell very, very quickly. In fact, they've sold out already. I've looked into it. Now, living in the States, it's easier for me to get to it. I did have a look at it. I was going to take a few days off work with annual leave and then attend it. But they've gone already. But so maybe next year I have to get in earlier and maybe attend that. But for me, Dell Technologies World, VMworld, that's pretty much the only ones on the radar at this point. What about yourself? What do you got lined up?
Yeah, I've never been to Dell World. I might have to try to go this year and catch some of your keynote demos live. That'd be really cool. VMworld, definitely. I have down that's August 28th through 30th in Las Vegas. I think this is the last year in Las Vegas, and then it goes back to San Francisco. But
is that right? I hadn't heard that.
That's what I heard last year, that there was going to be one more year in Las Vegas before they went back to San Francisco. But we'll see.
So a question about that. Have you heard anything more about the Moscone? Have they finished building across the road? Because I'd heard that they were going to connect the two buildings by building a sort of a bridge or something, building a building across that road. I haven't heard anything or seen anything since the last conference there, but I heard that's what the ultimate plan was.
Yeah, I was there. I drove by the Moscone sometime in 2017. I can't remember now when it was roughly, but it was all under construction. I didn't notice any bridge going across the road or connections, just like the outside of the building had scaffolding all over it. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, the status of that. But I do. I mean, San Francisco has its own, good and bad. But I do kind of wish it was back in San Francisco. I mean, I do wish they would try some other cities as well. Orlando, maybe Atlanta. There's a lot of different places for conferences, but it seems like VMworld has always been either San Francisco or Las Vegas, except perhaps the very first one that I never went to. Wasn't it in San Diego, if I recall? I could be wrong about that.
I don't know. Not sure.
Some
I think the whole thing about the Moscone as well, take that with a grain of salt. I heard that sort of third hand, so that may be completely wrong about them building something over the top. So
yeah,
they may just be building up on either side.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, I plan to go to VMworld, plan to go to Amazon Reinvent again this year, which is November 26th through 30th in Las Vegas again. And then I'm always on the lookout for other conferences. I noticed there was some sort of Dell IoT conference, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was back in, actually, yeah, good point. That was actually back in October last year. That was in New York. That was a really fun event. I was involved with that again, creating demos and what have you. That was really awesome. I mean, that was like in a warehouse space in central Manhattan. That was predominantly, it was an analyst type event, just showing, what we're doing as a company. Dell Technologies is doing a company in the IoT space. That was really cool. I like that. I love, like I say, I'm definitely one that likes the smaller conferences, the smaller space. And that wasn't really a conference per se. I'm guessing there was probably about 150 people there.
Okay.
So that was very small. That was more like just a smaller event. But it was cool. It was a great building that we had it in. It was like sort of quite like a loft type arrangement. And yeah, I don't know. It had that sort of earthy feel to it, and especially in an area like IoT as well. It's an emerging technology, which is always quite nice. VMworld still has that to some point, but it is different. It is a different feel. I don't know how you find it. It's a different feel to what it was back in, for example, 2009, when VMware was still this new thing that everyone was starting to embrace. So it has this massive buzz around being a sort of, like I say, an emerging technology that's coming through. So IoT sort of, for me, gives that same sort of feeling. It's this new technology. It's going to be big. Nothing's sort of baked yet, as it were. There's all these competing standards and products and technologies. It's very exciting.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I'm always on the lookout for new, kind of technology conferences. This morning I was reading about one in Germany, actually, called CloudFest, and it's like 3 days with all these different rock bands. It sounds like a rock concert / cloud event.
Okay.
They talk about all the beer they consume at the CloudFest, and it's like 300 euros per person to attend.
Wow.
But I was like, I have never heard of this event, in my life. It said 9,000 attendees, I think, is what they had last year.
That's significant.
Yeah. So a very different type of conference than what maybe we have here in the States, but interesting nonetheless. Yeah. I know this week we originally met at Tech Field Day in Boston.
That's right. Yeah, many years ago.
Many years ago. And this week, actually, there's a Tech Field Day going on. And my business partner at Actual Tech Media, James Green, he's going to be at Tech Field Day. It's a 2-day special Tech Field Day in Austin. And one of the days is just all Dell. So that's a conference that anyone can attend over the internet, for free, watching presentations, live streaming presentations. Like every month, twice a month, I moderate events that are kind of virtual conferences, if you will, called Megacast and EcoCast from Actual Tech Media. Those are, I find, interesting to hear the different presentations from different vendors solving, business problems. So I attend those, of course, regularly because I'm moderating them.
Yeah. So I bet you get to speak with some really interesting companies there. Some sort of maybe taking some slightly different angles to solve a problem, as it were.
Yeah, I love having, startups come on who are just like brand new. We're announcing our product on your event or, whatever it might be. Here's our solution to this whole new problem that we just came up with. And then also hear from, CTOs and CEOs of companies, that we've had on, big, well-known, companies. And so, yeah, it's a great variety of people presenting technology solutions. So yeah, those are fun. Those are interesting. But I always appreciate being able to go to a physical conference and shake people's hand, look them in the eye kind of thing. I see a lot of value in that, of course, as well. So
yeah, there's a lot to be said. It's kind of nice, actually, if you can mix up your year, with a mixture between the two, the convenience of the virtual conferences. I think that's an excellent format. I really do. Just through sheer convenience. It's great. You don't need to take time off work. You don't need to travel. You haven't got all the cost and, financially and also time-wise in attending. But like you rightly say, at the end of the day, I don't think you can actually beat being on the ground, at these physical conferences and sort of meeting people. Actually, a lot of the, obviously a lot of the stuff is going into the cloud now in our space. So there's not a heck of a lot to sort of feel and touch. But, by going to the conferences, it's great because you can actually have a look at a lot of the hardware still, whether that's, the big multi-million-dollar sort of systems that you never get to see, play or touch with, right through to the smaller stuff that, that plays into the SMB space. So, I'm still very much a hardware type person. I like to actually poke around the hardware, whether that's servers, storage, or otherwise. So, attending an actual physical conference, you get to do that, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think that would be especially cool at CES to see all the stuff that you can put on and wear and use and, so.
Oh, yeah. There was some cool stuff there, especially the television set. Who was it? Sony had an 8K TV set there, and that was phenomenal. I walked up to it and then literally I was, inches away from it, and you could just about make out the pixels.
Wow.
It was that high definition. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So a sign of things to come. LG had a great display there with the curved panels.
Mm-hmm.
The OLED panels. It's amazing. It's very exciting. I definitely work. You and I, we definitely work in the right space. Because technology definitely excites us, whether that be consumer or enterprise. But yeah, there's so much cool stuff. I can't wait to see where it's all going, actually, particularly in the space around sort of augmented mixed reality. For me, that's one particular area of interest. I think there's going to be a lot of application, like I say, both commercial, business and also leisure as well. So yeah, I can't wait to see where that goes.
Yeah, one day we'll be sitting back saying, I can't believe they're coming out with a new 256K TV. I can't believe we had those old 8Ks,
Yeah, it's like trying to explain to my 4-year-old son about, in the old days, how when I was his age, our television was just black and white and it was a big box.
Right.
And trying to explain these concepts. It's a bit like on Facebook recently. I saw someone posted a video with these kids. There must have been like 7 or 8, and they handed them a cassette and asked them what it was, what it did, and yes, it had music on it, but how did it work? And they were holding it up to their ear. They had just no idea. It's amazing how fast it all moves.
Yeah, the other day we were on a little trip, and we were at a neighborhood rest stop, and there was a payphone there, and there was a guy talking on the payphone, and my family was like, "Look at that guy! What's he doing?" Oh yeah, he's talking on a payphone.
He's obviously doing something shifty. Yeah.
Hey kids, what is a payphone? Yeah, like we had to explain it. So
yeah, so it's amazing. There's all these subtle little things that just sort of, have just moved into obscurity that you just don't realize. It just happens slowly over time. It's like, as a kid, the dial phone as well.
Yeah.
Where you didn't have a push button, you had the dial that sort of you had to ring round and it'd go back. And but, trying to explain that sort of concept. Like, for example, we don't have a home phone now. My wife and I, we have a mobile each. We don't even bother with a home line. We've got internet. That's all we need, and that works really well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that gets me when I watch movies. They're old movies now, but to me, they're still new movies. Like I watched them in the theater and I watch them again now, and the guy's checking his pager and he stops at the payphone and makes a call. And to me, that's really telling of, how old these movies are and how technology has changed so rapidly.
Yeah. And definitely going to these sort of events, it's excellent because you do see what's coming next, where companies are going, whether it's in the keynote of a particular, a conference where they're sort of projecting where they think as a company things are going to move to. It's great. It's really, really thought provoking.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the keynotes. So I think that's all we have for conferences today, but I mean, it's been great chatting with you again, Simon. And
yeah,
I look forward to more vChats.
Very much so. And we'll be doing this game real soon. But great chatting to you as always, David.
And we'll post all the links to these conferences in the show notes for this episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, Simon.
Hope to catch up with you soon.
Take care.